What's the first question? Give me the first question right off the top.
We don't
It's
have
not
a
an
plan
interview. Look,
between each
it's
other.
not. We don't have a plan, and it's also
This
not
isn't an interview?
It's not an interview. Well, it'll be partially an interview.
I'm not being interviewed, right? I thought this was prestigious. A prestigious podcast here. No,
Coffeezilla in the cup.
I hope you guys have your coffee ready.
Wow.
On this episode of Gush, as you might have seen on Netflix, Mr. Coffeezilla himself, and I think he needs no other introduction beyond that. No, I'll just make a brief one anyways, because some people might not know who you are, surprisingly. Even though you're all over Netflix, you're on the home screen, you're on the autoplay, I can't really even not see you there. But you sometimes spend your free time with us plebeians here on YouTube with two different channels. Got a media empire going on here. Most people might know you. Well, actually, at this point, Coffeezilla is actually larger than Coffeebreak, which was, of course, your original video essay sort of. I would even say it was like comparable, like maybe you shared viewers with Vsauce, possibly. That kind of thing where it's like a lot of effort, good videos on relevant, often scientific topics. But now you've shifted more towards really calling out what is an epidemic. And I'm not talking about, COVID. I'm talking about these scammers, these fake gurus, these master manipulators, these smooth-tongued snake oil salesmen who seem to be flooding the internet, whether you're on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, they have their own ecosystems of scammery going on there. Like on Facebook, it's a different ball game. It's like they're on the fucking next level. YouTube has its own kind of stuff. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't even know where to start because okay, like Ty Lopez is one that we've all heard about because he used to have those ads where he would just start off on every YouTube fucking video. That's a word, YouTube fucking video.
Here in my garage. That was
exactly.
Here in my garage, guys.
And the Lambos were behind him. And that was, but the more valuable than the Lambos was the bookcase with knowledge.
And if you only go to my website and sign up $67 a month, I will give you this knowledge.
Right.
67 steps to wealth, health, and happiness, baby. That's what it's all about. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Thanks for being here, man. I'm happy to have you.
I think that intro was worth the wait.
Dude,
honestly.
yeah, it was.
All right, guys, let's cut it. That's the good show. We're just gonna.
That was Gush.
That'll be your channel trailer. That's your channel trailer.
What's my?
Let's just loop to your channel trailer for like.
Let's cut
an
it
hour.
out. Yeah.
Just an hour
Yeah.
of that on loop, and
Sure.
done.
Yeah.
No.
No,
yeah,
but
no,
like
I had a video.
you
essay
change your
channel,
style a lot. Yeah.
Huge change up. I mean, dude, I was tired of making. You could only get one video done in a month, and then YouTube hates when you only get one video done. But that style demands it. YouTube really hates quality. They despise it, and they want to incentivize kind of high frequency content.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the unfortunate reality. I think any large quality creator will recognize this. YouTube really has given up on reputation, and instead they've gone towards like faster, quicker content and what you might consider like momentum on a channel. It's sad. That's not really the only reason I did it. I just kind of thought it was an interesting phenomenon, especially when COVID hit. I was like, well, let me definitely double down on this because it's such a problem. Scammers were running amok because everyone was searching how to make money online from home. And was like one of the biggest ways to fall into this whole thing is you see people online telling you you're going to get rich quick, doing these ridiculous sending text messages, whatever, and you pay $2,000 to learn it. So yeah, that was the shift. But yeah, in a larger way, I mean, I know we'll probably talk about YouTube in general, but I've seen so many creators just say like their channels where they're uploading once a month, they're just getting crushed. And I saw that too. I mean,
yeah, definitely. But I think even more interesting than that to me is kind of like your place on YouTube, really. Maybe you don't see it this way, but you talked about it in, I'm sure you talked about it in a few videos, but the one that I saw where you mentioned it was in the Doge Tubers video, where you basically said, I'm not here to shut these people down, even if they're running a scam. or even if they're lying and trying to manipulate viewers, but I'm at least going to call it out for you guys, and you can make your own decisions. But there should at least be some, the truth here, the facts of the matter, so you can be equipped with the knowledge you need. And I thought that was a really interesting point to make, because effectively your channel, this is something I was thinking about, like, there is a lot of misinformation out there. There is a lot of dangerous, harmful, misleading, manipulative, whether it's for profits or it's just it's a part of some larger, crazy, reason to put out misinformation. That is a thing. And that's the one thing that tech companies get right when they're saying that is true. Like, that's undeniable. There's so much bad information, but unfortunately, I think, and maybe we'll talk about this too later, their response is to censor that rather than, I think your response is something that I prefer, which is you're not so much censoring, but you are putting out the good information. And in an ideal system, the good information should rise to the top. And good, I mean true. I mean, what is closer to the truth?
Yeah.
What is the more cross-reference? What is the more, whatever, just you can measure these things, I think. Or at least, even if a system can't measure these things, people can, which is what I trust in a way which is why I'm not for censorship, because it's like, I think if YouTube is operating as it should, channels like yours will have a large audience. The videos will be associated possibly even with, the videos that people you're calling out.
Yeah.
And I see it as like playing this game of balancing information, just like you have a balanced diet, it's like the same thing with your information media diet. That's what they say.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that I've tried to do and that I really think a lot of people miss is that misinformation is often really entertaining. Like, nothing gets me out of bed like an Alex Jones broadcast. I mean, I will show up for that. He's hilarious. He's hilarious. And if you want to call out, my thing is not political stuff, so I just kind of laugh at Alex Jones. But my thing is the scammer stuff. But if you want to, deal with people, what people get wrong is they stick purely to, okay, am I technically correct? Well, you might be technically correct, but you also have to make it entertaining. And so one thing I try to do is make my show as entertaining as possible and as funny as possible, because I'm like, that is going to get it the exposure it really needs. I think the mistake people make is they go, the disinformation gets so much more exposure than the, correcting information. And it's because you scold them. Like, you scold them like an old parent. Like, you're like, oh, technically this is wrong. And if I cross-reference it with the CDC, it's like people are glazing over. Instead, I try to focus on how ridiculous these characters are, the crazy promises they're making, the kind of larger than life, like, absurdity that they represent. And that's where, I mean, I've kind of, my lane is, I guess, if you'd say. But yeah, the misinformation problem's huge, but I think people could go a long way by realizing that maybe it's not that disinformation is inherently more viral, as it's maybe more entertaining than what you're putting out. And you need to work on it.
It's like, I kind of agree with what you're saying, because I feel it's like the system could be played better, Like, the system that we're saying is filtering out all the good information and supposedly spreading more so misinformation. Like, if the incorrect information was, if you're gaming the system, you're making good YouTube content where you're putting out the correct information like what you're doing, then it does rise to the top. People do see it. Like, you've pretty quickly gained a big following on that channel, I'd say.
People like hearing that. That's the thing. People like hearing the truth, in other words.
Well, yeah, and they also like seeing people who are lying called out. There's a visceral sense of like schadenfreude and justice when you see somebody just kind of get
secondhand enjoyment.
They're lying, they're hypocrites or something. I mean, there's something really primal about that where you just like, you're like, oh, I freaking love this. And so, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think the answer is just like, let's go in and, swipe the hammer on people. Number one, because nobody trusts these companies. And number two is because nobody really agrees on anything. And so if you swipe the hammer, you're going to be siding with somebody.
Absolutely.
True.
Yeah. Do you value, would you say that you value the truth more than money?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. I don't think I don't think most YouTubers do that, to be honest with you.
I mean, I wouldn't do what I did if I didn't. Like, there was a point where I realized, oh, I could sort of keep doing what I'm doing, or I could just put into practice everything I'm watching, and I could make millions. I thought about it. I was like, I could probably make like several million in 2 years. Like, first year is launching and then scaling, because I just understood the scam eventually super well. But I can't justify to myself doing that. I mean, I feel like everyone to some extent...
You'd hate yourself.
Well, everyone has to have that line, or most people have that line. Why I hesitated initially is because it's not one or the other. It's like truth or money. It's like you can do both, and everyone needs to make a living. But I see it as you have to put your character first, and then
morals.
Find a way to make money within like the society structure or whatever.
Yeah, totally agree.
I think the reason we're all here is because we all agree on that in a way.
Because we come back to YouTube, and so many YouTubers, especially when they start out, they want to be pure to the art, right? And it's like, I'm only going to make videos that I'm interested in, not that the audience is interested in. And so it's like a pure form of, I only stick with what's true to me. And I think that's fine, but most people won't find success with that. And they think, well, then I have to sell out. And it's like, okay, there's a balance between making, the most sell-outy videos where you're like, I don't know, doing TikTok dances or something like that, and actually also making the best form of what you want to make. Most people have to find some balance in between that, I find.
Yeah, I mean, even your channel, like you're playing a character in a way. It's not a character that's super divorced from reality or from who you are, but it's like you're playing to an audience, right? 100%. As any YouTuber does.
Sure.
But at the same time, you're not being disingenuous with what you're saying. You're not being disingenuous with the purpose of the video. There is obviously a purpose for making, like, there's a content purpose to the video, but it's also something that genuinely should be talked about, that genuinely can help people if they have that information, right? So it's, I know what you mean. Like, there is definitely it's a spectrum, right, of selling out versus staying true to yourself. And I think you have a great balance of that.
You need to do something you're proud of, where like you don't hate yourself and you can do well with it. Like, but you definitely don't want to try to go purely just off of your own like whims. I mean, I did that at first. I'm a piano player. Like, I initially was playing piano on YouTube. I was trying to make piano videos, straight piano videos. I made 100 videos and got like 100 subscribers or something like that. Like, I like
just
nothing.
You playing piano?
Yeah, no words. I was afraid to talk to the camera. Okay, by the way, super shy back then. So
How long
was
ago
like,
was
2013.
Okay. How old were you at the time?
2014 probably. I was in college, and I think I started sophomore year. It kind of gets a little fuzzy, but anyways, yeah, I made all these videos, and I came to the conclusion 3 years late, that nobody really wanted to watch it. And I was like, oh, that's kind of hard for my ego. But I was like, cool. What do people want to watch that I also enjoy making? And so I pivoted to Coffeebreak. And then at one point I sort of got tired of Coffeebreak and I was sort of burnt out on it. And I got disillusioned with the education like genre as a whole. And I was like, what else could I do? And so I pivoted over to this, which is sort of like edutainment or something like that on scammers.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a good balance of entertainment and information. And like, as someone who's not even, well, I mean, you learn stuff too that's like very important that I don't think most people know. Because I was listening to you had this 1.5-hour interview with the gentleman who wrote a book about MLMs, multi-level marketing. And this interview was so eye-opening from a lot of different perspectives, from an economic perspective, from a politics perspective. And you kind of did an excellent job, I think, of guiding that information. And he was also a great speaker too. But I mean, when you guys were talking about just the depths at which there's corruption with multi-level marketing schemes, like they should be regulated by the government, but they're not, because they just don't have any of the political power, because all the lobbyist groups are basically funded by multi-level marketing schemes. And the victims of these schemes don't have any actual political sway whatsoever. So the laws that should be in place against them are not. And they're, quite frankly, ruining. I think at this point, it's safe to say that they're a contributing factor to I don't know. I want to say ruining the economy or messing with market manipulation, maybe, something to that.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. I mean, they're worse in other countries too. I was talking to somebody from the Philippines yesterday, and they said they're so bad here. They're like some of the biggest they're one of the biggest industries in all of the Philippines, and people are just constantly getting destroyed. And we try to talk out about them, but the libel laws are that if you speak out, you could land in 12 years of jail. And
Wow.
the laws have been set up that way, so you can't really call anybody out. But MLMs are bad here too. And to speak to your point about politics, let's be a little specific with what we mean here so people get an idea. So all the way back early on when the FTC first started prosecuting MLMs quickly realized, people like Amway, Herbalife, they realized they need lobbying groups to get political sway because the numbers really aren't on their side. 99% of people do lose money with these companies. And so they managed to get sway with Bill Clinton. I mean, I'll just skip all the small FTC people no one will know. But Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and then you've also got Donald Trump. I mean, just across the board, they've been winning over politicians over and over and over, left and right. They got Madeleine Albright for Herbalife, and they just consistently win over these political parties to where when they get in power, you're screwed. To the point that Betsy DeVos was our Secretary of Education. DeVos is the people who started Amway, Richard DeVos.
Yeah.
So I mean,
when I heard that was crazy. I was like,
MLM
no
goes
way.
deep in our politics and in our country to where, it is a little disheartening because I feel like at this point, everybody knows MLMs are scams, but still they're legal. And it's like, how can a scam be legal? Mm-hmm. Well, that's something I've had to kind of grapple with, is that some of the stuff I talk about isn't technically illegal, but it's definitely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be illegal.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's kind of a, maybe I'm extrapolating a little far, but I'll say that to me, that kind of serves as an analogy for a lot of economic forces nowadays, or market forces nowadays. I think a lot of people are sort of disillusioned and view a lot of things as a scam. Like, for example, you had this other video where you're kind of responding to this guy. It was like another guru or self-help type guy saying 9-to-5s are a scam. College is a scam, which, is obviously very bombastic and exaggeratory and technically very wrong, as you pointed out. It's a scam to agree to work for someone and then they pay you. What a scam. Okay, that's the actual opposite of a scam, obviously. But the point is that people are disillusioned with just, I guess I don't know what you'd even call that. Just the opportunities, the system. Yeah.
No, people feel disenfranchised. They feel like their opportunities are not the same as their parents and are worse, and their economic mobility is worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it is a big problem. College debt that people get in, they feel like that's a big problem. And then also the number of college graduates are getting out. Sometimes there's not enough jobs for all those people. And it's you have to go find a job in something that you didn't plan to get a job in. People can feel like that, it is a scam. Of course, when you look at the numbers, I mean, one of the single greatest indicators for economic mobility is a college education. So is high school, by the way. Graduating high school is one of the number one. And then also college is one of the number one indicators as well, just education. Because of course, right? But when a guy dressed up in a suit next to a nice car tells you that it's not and that you don't need college, well, that's a really attractive offer. When you're already hearing about the climbing debt, when you're already hearing about, all the people who are suffering from unemployment, even though they got into college. And so you think to yourself, maybe I can just follow this guy, right? How much does this course cost? $5,000. I'll just do that instead.
Right. See, this is interesting to me, though, because I'm really curious as to how you would react to the message and the kind of breakdown in this video I'm working on. Because as of now, at least, it's not completely done, but it's pretty critical of the education system. And it's pretty, I would say, I'm not really pushing people in the direction of saying drop out of college. But I am kind of questioning the value of degrees, which I think is a mainstream opinion
I think
anyways.
that's fair.
Yeah, like most people, like what you just said is actually a point I bring up, how the job market is directly related to how valuable higher education degrees are, right? So if there's not job opportunities, then you might actually be smart and spend all that time in school and learned a bunch or whatever. But I mean, if you can't put that to use, then what good is it, right? And I think there's certainly a trimming of the fat happening when it comes to which degrees are genuinely worth your time and money and which ones are not. Like, and maybe this is a bold claim, but my opinion is, if you want to be anything creative, if you want to be a filmmaker, unless you're going to like a filmmaking school where you're going to meet a bunch of industry people, which is the thing, like there's definitely places like Chapman or something, then it's not worth your time or money to go to film school. Or to get a film degree. You should just make good films, learn how to do it. There's infinite ways to learn online. The best learning is experience. If you can get a small time job with like a small production crew somewhere, whatever, that would just be good for the experience, even if you make no money. Like, these are all better investments of your time than going to college for that creative endeavor. So my opinion is, like, for creative endeavors, it's definitely not worth it. I don't know if you guys agree, but
I would go even beyond that, but yeah.
I would say you're definitely right that a lot of degrees are sort of useless. I kind of question sometimes, like, whether our generation hasn't totally discounted the usual method of, like, working your way through through like a creative field by sort of the gatekeeping method, because that's sort of what film school represents, right? Is like you're getting into film through the gatekeeping method of, like, I went to this prestigious film school and then I went and I studied under this guy and blah, blah, blah. And whereas we're kind of saying, like, and I share this opinion a lot because this is sort of how I got into YouTube, is, hey man, buy a camera and then just start. I definitely share a lot of what you say. That's sort of the Casey Neistat thing too, is that filmmaking has been totally democratized. But I'm also very limited that I'm only talking to people who are on YouTube, right? Which is a medium.
Well, where else are they? If they're not on YouTube, though, where are they? That's the thing.
They're making films.
Well,
they're on Netflix. They're on Hulu. They're making TV.
Okay, but I would say very small percentage of those filmmakers are going to have Netflix, level productions make it there. Whereas, like, in other words, here's what I'm trying to say. YouTube might have a smaller ceiling in a way, in terms of, because you're not working directly with the industry. You are disconnected. You are a guy with a camera in his room ultimately, right? So it's going to have a lower ceiling in many ways, but I think that, like, the barrier to entry is so much lower with YouTube, where even someone who's mediocre can get a pretty decently sized audience.
But what you're saying about, like, school, I feel like this doesn't just apply to creative endeavors. Because I actually agree with what you're saying, Greg, and I think that, I think that there's this whole problem that I at least saw with my generation, which was that, like, a lot of people went to university because they're supposed to. And, like, they didn't actually do it to go into something specific that was going to lead to a career they wanted. They just went to university. It's like, that's what you're supposed to do. And then they would either struggle in school or they would just finish and not have anywhere to go because they graduated with something that wasn't really that useful or whatever. And I feel like, and that in combination with, like, how expensive and corrupt the education system has gotten, I feel like I understand why people say stuff like, oh, education's a scam. It's not a scam, but, like, a little bit of it is, you know what I mean? Like, they're scamming you a little bit, like, they're making you pay way too much, and they're making you feel like you have to go when there should be more emphasis and understanding on, like, various other paths. Maybe you want to go to trade school or something. I consider that different than going to university or whatever, it's a different type of path. Yeah. So, do you know what I mean? I feel like
it's not a scam, but it is a poor investment of your time, which is more valuable than money, especially in your younger years. So, not in every case, by the way. Again, like, it's when it whatever that threshold is. Again, for me, it's like, I would say it's almost like 90% of the time going to be that for anything creative. But beyond that, even there might be instances, but, like, it's still, you're still learning. It's not like you're not learning anything, but it's just, is there a better investment for your time? That's how I view it. But
I think it's just, I mean, I think it totally depends. I don't think there's a binary answer in terms of either like the what degree it is or the people who go, because think about this. A lot of the people you're talking about, Slush, and they're people who showed up to college just sort of expecting to be handed a job, and they sort of coasted through college. They had no plan. They sort of kind of picked a degree out of a hat, and they had no like ambition of,
Right.
this is the job I want. And so to some extent, I feel like college is one of those things where you get out of it what you put in.
Absolutely.
And so some people leave college and they have like a great network, and they have, they know important people, and they've sort of used it wisely, and then they can go do great. I was not one of those people, by the way. I got my engineering degree basically by doing the bare minimum. Graduated with something like a 3.0 or something like that, like just enough to where I wouldn't get too many looks. And then I ended up doing something else. But even with that, where I didn't like go very intentionally, I still thought that specifically engineering, and maybe this is true of STEM in general, is they teach you how to think in a way that you're really good later. Like I attribute a lot of my productivity to doing engineering because it teaches you a lot of first.
I do think that the area of engineering is one of those for sure, but that's obviously not true of any field or any direction you can go into, right? Like
you can go to like the humanities, and like who knows what that teaches you, but like with engineering, I feel like it teaches you first principle thinking. It teaches you sort of scientific thinking, and I think that's really valuable for living a broad life, so to speak. I mean, you might think of it as like a Renaissance life. I think people are obsessed with, well, the utility of work is just knowing one skill. So why even bother learning general knowledge when I can just learn one skill? This is why people say, like, just teach me about money, man. Just teach me about money. Why am I learning about, Shakespeare? Why am I learning about history? I just want to know the specific skill. And the problem is, like, great, that specific skill is really cool until a robot does it. And then you got to find something else to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you better figure something out quick. And so the real uniqueness of human knowledge, at least unique right now, is the general intelligence, right? And so it's like training that general intelligence is non-trivial and useful, I would say. It's my short pitch, but I don't think that, college is the only place you get it.
I agree with you, but I think we might disagree on well, we don't disagree, but I think we have different perspectives. And I agree with the principle of what you just said, but to me, it's more like the future of careers and really of humans is creative thinking. Whereas you're saying it's like general knowledge / scientific, which, I mean, obviously you need some of that too. But I think like the greater truth in that is that you need creative thinking ultimately to adapt to anything, and especially to the changing world with automation and all that. Creative skills are the most valuable, really. I mean,
that's probably multi-faceted jewel. It's not just creative thinking. It's not just general knowledge. It's like a bunch of things that make up, the best way.
But I think creative thinking is the most irreplaceable.
That could be true.
But how do you train that?
Well, yourself,
you facilitate it. I would say you facilitate it.
Like with problem solving, with the, sort of give you the latitude to do a number of problems, study a variety of topics.
We're talking about creative thinking.
Creative thinking. I think part of creative thinking is also untrained. It's something that you have to allow to
you have to it's experiential knowledge.
Yeah, but to put that into an example that might make more contextual sense, it's like if someone here's a common problem, right? Someone who's working a 9 to 5 comes home, like I have a friend like this. He comes home every day, he's exhausted because he's been on the computer answering emails all day or whatever. And he's exhausted. He comes home and he wants to work on 3D modeling on the computer as well. But it's like, it's so much screen time in a way that he's just like burnt out, and he's not as creative, but he'll still put the time into it. But it's a lot, to do both of those things. Well, if he wasn't working, right, if he didn't have to do that, then he would be more creative when it comes to the creative endeavor he wants to work on. So in other words, the more people are like for kids growing up, for example, I think in the future, for them to be in school less, but having more time to socialize with other people, with other kids and stuff like that will grow creative thinking more than being on a regimented sort of like textbook learning curriculum the whole time, like a job, a job is like that. So that's one. Yeah.
I do agree that like, I don't like the way the schools have been the same sort of factory system forever. And I think that's clearly outdated, and that things need to be done to reform it and update it and improve it for sure. Obviously, like, not everyone is going to be interested in creative thinking. So you shouldn't only design schools to encourage creative thinking exclusively, but maybe it's just like one of the directions that like this new system can help. What's the word? Foster? I don't know. Facilitate. Yeah.
Fostered works too. Yeah.
Whatever.
Foster's home for imaginary
Yeah,
friends.
I kind of.
I'm writing this down now for my script. Sorry.
I sort of completely disagree that creative thinking is untrained. I think it's absolutely
I don't think
trainable.
he said it's both. Some of it is trained and some of it is untrained.
It is some of yes. I don't think like in other words, I think you can't force it too much. That's the idea, right? Like you can't force someone to be creative. Work is not forced. It's just there's techniques you can employ to channel it, right? Which is like the trained way.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna drop.
Organizational
This is like a little bit of meditation knowledge, I guess, or like related to that. But like one of the things you learn about in meditation
Steven's
is that,
tuning
like,
out once you say that.
No. I was just thinking like, oh, did you find out about like the Waking Up podcast like 2 weeks ago or what?
No.
No, you're a long time. You're a real meditator.
Yeah.
He's a real yogi.
I was making a joke, and then okay, all right, fair enough. Yeah, go ahead. Drop your knowledge.
Okay. One of the things you learn about is that like when
Sorry.
it comes to focusing on your breath when you're meditating, you can't force it. It's just impossible. You're gonna get distracted. But what you can have is the intention to develop that habit, and over time you'll be able to do it. And I think creative thinking is similar. You can put yourself in the position where you're like working at doing something creative, and you're having the intention to be more creative, and over time you will develop that ability.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. I agree. I guess I agree.
I think you have a fundamentally different approach, probably, Stephen. Like,
well,
I think
no.
Which is
I
not
just
wrong.
seem like
It's just
no.
different.
Whenever I think about like my creative things that I do, right, and that's mostly video and music. I always think what has always kind of progressed me the most. And some of it is sort of letting the thoughts boil for a while and letting them sort of sift out into some clear thing. But part of it is like, man, the more I just take swings and I go up to bat and just take another swing at this, the better I get and the luckier I get.
Well,
and
it's
when
the
I
same
look
thing as what I'm
across
saying. That's what I mean when I say like you have the intention to do something creative and you go and try and do something creative, taking a swing, and then you get better by having that intention to keep going, getting better at swinging.
That is true. That is valuable. That is undeniably valuable and important.
But what I
necessary.
missed, what my big learning thing was this year is that volume is really big, or I think it is. I think it is now at this point.
Are we talking about YouTube?
Any creative endeavor, I think volume's really important to get, and most people are obsessed with like perfecting things, and
Yes.
I think there's an element of volume which you need to really like. There needs to be a bit of a grind, and I think some of this like very esoteric approach to learning, or I mean to creative thinking, can mask that sometimes because you spend so much time doubting yourself or thinking too much in the clouds of, am I untrained creative or am I not?
Right.
Like, am I talented or am I... That's where the talented thing comes from. It's like, am I talented or not? I think that none of that matters. I think it's
Agreed.
about showing up, putting in the work, and your
Knowing how to
creativity
improve.
just like starts to work. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me challenge that a bit because I mostly agree with you, but I think I do have some, maybe some points where I disagree with you there, or I view it differently. Like, for example, I think the premises that you're starting on are very important for this. So, for example, you noticed volume is like a good thing, but it's a good thing depending on what you value, right? If you're valuing viewership, channel growth, success on YouTube through any analytical
creativity in
sense.
general.
No. I'm saying not related to that.
For creativity, even you're saying.
Yeah, it's like the idea of the more you put out, the more likely you are to put out something great.
No.
No?
Yeah,
That's not what you
that.
mean?
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that. I thought you were going to say
you
put out something
Swings,
viral.
home run kind of thing.
Right.
Right. Sorry, I misunderstood that. But it's the same idea though. Like where the more you're putting out, the closer you're getting to achieving like a pinnacle of quality.
Not necessarily the more you put out though. It's not necessarily the literal quantity of
the more
work.
consistent you are, the more consistent you are, right?
Yeah, the more you show up to the desk.
Right.
To work.
Yeah, consistency is really important, I think.
Right.
But at the same time, some of the best artists I know about are pretty inconsistent, actually. In my opinion, though, there's also great artists I like who are very consistent.
Who are you thinking of when you're thinking of this?
Like, I'm thinking about musical artists primarily. I'm thinking about filmmakers, directors, those kinds
Even
of
some
people.
YouTubers.
Even some YouTubers, sure.
Oh,
Game
that's fair.
developers, game developers.
Sure.
Any piece of work that and that's kind of where I'm trying to channel from, which is why I'm saying we might have differing perspectives. Because for me, it's like my end game, maybe I'm up in the clouds, but is like my end game is I want to make like world recognized documentaries, for example, or like world recognized films or pieces of work, or even songs at some point, if I can develop the skills needed for that. Things like that, like just art that is going to be like have its own audience that appreciates it for artwork, for the artistry of it primarily, rather than like me reporting on, like, whereas reporting on the news, like a Keemstar, right? He's basically doing that. He's showing up for a desk job, and and he's doing great. He's making millions of dollars, but
You want to set yourself apart.
I want to set myself apart. Yeah, I think you have a similar kind of outlook as me, Sam.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me kind of like pick apart a thread here, because what we're talking about is maybe we're talking slightly past each other. So when I talk about like showing up, so let's say you have a musical artist. Let's say this person like is a rapper or something. He could put out only like an album every 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. That's just the amount of work that he sort of lets get past the posts. But what actually I care about, what I think matters in terms of how good you're going to end up, is just sort of how many hours you spend on your craft, regardless of whether you end up releasing it or not. In the case of like someone like Keemstar or something, he's kind of doing the same show every time, so he's not challenging himself, so he's not going to advance. But let's say you have two people, one of them sort of shows up 5 hours a day, and one of them shows up 12 hours a day, and both of them are working towards world-class documentaries. Who would you bet on creating the world-class documentary?
The guy
10 out of 10 times
hours.
I'd bet on the guy putting in more hours. So that's
true.
sort of what I
true.
mean. Is
Right.
when I say volume, is like it doesn't have to equal more literal documentaries
Effort.
you put out.
Okay, I agree, but to a point, which is this. No. You have me to a point, though. But hold on. There's one caveat, though, that's important, which is, again, like the idea that you can't always force creativity. What I mean by that is I could put 10 hours into figuring out what is the best video idea I could come up with. Or sometimes I can just on a whim in a conversation hear something and be like, oh my God, that's it. That's a great idea. Like that's the one. And it's like, I didn't even think about it. Maybe I was just relaxing, having a great conversation. But because it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like it came to you naturally. Exactly. Yes. Inspiration will come to you. You can also go to it sort of, which I think is kind of what you mean. Like, yes, you put in a lot of time, a lot of effort. You can definitely produce great things at a rate.
If you think about it, though, the method is a little different, but you are putting the time in because your openness to the inspiration is like you're being open and hoping for something to catch at all times. So like that is a sort of effort.
I think I finally have something that could maybe blend our two ideologies here, Glink. Here we go, and then we can move on.
Let's do
religion.
So Stephen King, actually, I have the book on my desk right now. He has this book called
don't start with Stephen King. Okay, go for
On
it.
Writing. Okay.
Okay.
On writing, he talks about. Have you read it?
No.
No, I'm not. I don't read any books.
Oh, okay. So he's got this idea of the muse, right? He's trying to explain to young writers, like, a lot of people feel like you do, where they're like, well, I'm just sort of waiting for the magic to show up. And he's like, no, this magic definitely exists. Like, sometimes there is some muse who sprinkles pixie dust on you every, like, couple weeks, where you really get like a glimpse of, like insight, whatever. His point is that in order to make that happen, you just kind of have to repeatedly show up to work. And then your job is to sort of catch it when it's there. So you imagine that, like, you just sort of have to catch the mailman as he goes by, and you have to like grab him and hold on to it as like the idea, right? So I think that's basically blends our two ideas, because you're like, well, you can't force it, and I agree. But also my point is you just have to show up. And so
I think
that's
you're right.
kind
That
of
does blend our ideas.
Yeah. I feel like that's what I was saying when I was like, your openness, that is the effort. You are putting time in.
And we're blending Slush in too. This is a Gush blender here.
Yeah, that's why we call it that.
I do want to mention
We
that
just got it.
I think what me and Sam are saying is kind of articulating what people mean by passion, the idea of having passion, right? Where it's like, I just had this passionate idea and I went for it. Like, usually that's not an idea someone was, I mean, it requires the work and the time and all that once it's decided on, of course, but it's like, it's just my passion, right? Like they can't explain it. That's kind of like, but they're both necessary is the point. And that's kind of to what the little parable you just explained there.
The parable.
It's the same thing.
But
so
I mean, on the top, unless you want to say something, I feel like I just cut you off.
No, go for it.
Since we're talking about, like, we got on this topic of volume, I feel like one interesting to point out in one way that you have facilitated volume is by like systemizing everything you do to be like the most efficient. So it's like there's the least amount of friction to getting you putting in those hours.
Yeah, I'm just trying to always convince people of my ideology. I don't know if anyone in the audience has noticed that. And what part of this ideology is 100% efficiency. That's what the $10 million studio is all about, is that I can shoot videos that look as good as possible in the fastest amount of time possible. So one thing that I noticed was, like, daily YouTubers have a problem of the faster you start to produce, the worse your videos look. It's kind of a general rule, or at least the more they look the same, because you can have a good camera, but then they just kind of all look the same, right? And so I've been working on my set, which is like allows me to do a bunch of cool things. I mean, you could just watch my channel. I don't want to like demonstrate or anything like that.
We can just see it right now.
No, please demonstrate right now. Tear down the green screen so that we see what's really behind the magic.
All right. Here we go. Here's the demonstration.
Maybe we should like maximize the screen for him.
Oh, okay.
What's up, guys?
On it, Chief.
On it, Chief. Oh wait, what?
Oh, yeah. This is the.
That's the fail right there.
Okay,
guys.
that one's really nice. Going through the glass.
Yeah.
Come on.
Can we get that again in slow motion?
There you go. Slow motion. Slow mo that baby.
Wow, that's beautiful.
There you go.
Really nice.
You actually have the. Let me see if I can put it on for you.
This is a Gush first.
This is the full.
That one looks like cyberpunk, honestly.
Which one?
Are you creating
the one with the buildings outside?
Oh yeah. This one right here.
Yeah, it's like cyberpunk or something.
Yeah, man.
Are you a VTuber?
Me?
Officially?
Secretly?
Is that how it's pronounced? I've been saying
officially,
VTuber the whole time.
You've been saying
no,
VTuber?
yeah, I'm officially a VTuber, 100%.
By the way, you know your
really...
camera's off, Greg.
Oh, I know.
The camera's off.
Okay.
Oh, I know. We're doing the coffee. This is the coffee break of the podcast. That's what we're calling it.
Dude, yeah, I'm joining PewDiePie as a VTuber. So, no, but all this stuff is programmed so I can do it all from my desk. And what I try to tell other YouTubers is, like, if you can set it up to where you can pull stuff up all live.
Did you just like pretend to not get out of the way of the TV?
Well, I had to get it out of the way. It hits me otherwise. So anyway.
Oh, really?
I told you he's a VTuber. I told you.
Yeah, because it's like...
It's an actual screen there.
What did you think?
I thought it was just like a green screen effect.
Oh my gosh, you thought I'm doing it cheap. No, dude, this is
you
like...
can't tell what's real and what's fake with this guy.
This is the whole thing.
Completely got me convinced.
This is the whole thing.
He was the real fake guru the whole time.
Okay, so yeah, like I could like show stuff, and the whole point of this is that the whole purpose of this elaborate thing is that I can shoot videos that look like they are spent a lot of time on it, and it's because I've scaled up my effort to like reuse a lot of assets. And I'm trying to tell YouTubers all the time, like, do this, because what I see YouTubers do is what I used to do, which is I would shoot a video and then I'd spend like 3 days editing it.
Oh, dude.
And that's it's terrible.
nothing.
Or more.
Yeah.
Or a week.
I spent
or,
like 3 months editing it.
Well,
Yeah,
he
bro,
means like
that's
a Coffeezilla
terrible.
style video.
No, even when I was doing Coffee Break, I'd spend like 2 weeks editing. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's terrible. In terms of inefficiency wise, it's
See,
super
you're
inefficient.
absolutely right, but for some, and I think this is like clearly something I'm conflicted with internally because you're right from every business perspective. You're absolutely right, and in truth, I need to be adopting more of those that type of mentality, but I'm always like finding myself trying to make something profound or like a masterpiece, and I need to have a lot of creative input, visually, audio. Like I'm trying to leave my mark on it as well, right? So,
By the way, I don't. This obsession with efficiency isn't about business. This is my own personal gripe. It kills my creativity when I have to like go adjust a camera, go change this, go change that. Like, and editing was something that I didn't mind doing, but I did not enjoy. I enjoy making the videos, doing the research, doing this. So this is just an excuse for me to do everything that I already want to do, just more of it. And that's what I enjoy personally.
Right, exactly. I guess I enjoy the audio visual aspect more than the information aspect.
My thought though, I used to sort of be like, I want every video to be a masterpiece. And I eventually came to the conclusion that people don't want masterpieces.
No, they don't.
But there's that element of like,
Glink, let me see your face, dude. I'm showing you my face, and I feel
give me
like
2 minutes. Hold up.
come back
there's the
on.
element of like, what satisfies you as the content creator, right? Because like maybe you are happy just putting out a bunch of masterpieces that only a certain amount of people end up watching.
Yeah, 100%. No. And I love people who do that. All my favorite creators, almost all of them are like masterpiece focused. They're
I
really
think that
focused
Greg
on
and I
putting
are
out-
both focused on like putting out something that we're happier with at the cost of consistency and like guaranteed viewership.
Yeah, my thought ironically is that like I'm sacrificing for a while, in my view, to make future work that like I'm really proud of. So I realized I didn't have the tools to make the videos I wanted to make. I'm not the best editor in the world. So to craft a video that I was like really proud of, I was like, I have to do something different. And so part of this whole thing is like I'm building up towards something where I can tell stories in a way that's sort of unique. No one really does it quite this way. And in a way that people enjoy. So that's the way I think about it. Like I'm doing this whole thing. Well, I don't want to give too much away about my future set expansion, but I have like really big ambitions for what this could become. And I think like, yeah, it's just I guess it's just philosophies of creating. I feel like we're getting at.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. So are we going to see you on Netflix again?
Well,
Okay,
I mean, you can't
Greg
even
keeps
avoid it.
mentioning Netflix because I got 1 second of Netflix fame, and in
the
a
form of
credit,
text.
in the form of text, after the credits. So literally nobody on earth has seen me on Netflix, but I technically exist on Netflix.
You
at
do.
like minute
It's huge.
21,
It's on your
second
portfolio.
42.
We view
Worked
you
with
as
Netflix.
we view you as
Seen
the
on
one who
Netflix.
made it.
Have you seen my
Yeah.
channel? I changed the
Yeah,
banner.
I saw that. Yeah, I
saw
thought
it.
that was
I
really
saw it.
funny.
Yeah.
I know. I
Um,
see it on Netflix. I'm a Netflix boy now.
I mean, that's super cool either way. And, you know, I'm sure
It is.
opportunities. I mean, what I thought was interesting was that, like, it was because of what you do that you couldn't. Like, you were supposed to have more, but they were like, oh, this guy's a liability.
Okay,
was-
so
Yeah,
that
legal-
actually
legal
brings up a
wise.
good point. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, another reason I don't like conventional routes to things is because all the conventional forms of media fucking suck.
Yeah.
They suck. They
I
don't
agree,
allow
actually.
for creativity. They don't allow
agree.
for critical thinking even. They don't allow. It's just the most mindless, dumbed down, like ridiculousness. Prime example, like that show Ridiculousness on MTV. I know MTV is like an entertainment network, but the point is like lowest shows that appeal to the lowest common denominator, right? That is the problem with cable. That is the problem with mainstream news articles these days. Honestly, it's just all become that.
Well, you know why YouTube,
though? Go for it. Why?
The reason why a lot of these shows suck is they don't have any money. And because they don't have any money, they're always fighting to survive. So they're like jackals who are like literally picking. They will eat anybody they can. They will do anything they can for their next meal. And so if they have to put a show called Ridiculousness is what you get when you go, okay, what is the absolute basest show we could produce? They got the most viewers. And why would they do that? I mean, it's not just because they're like lining their pockets. It's because they see their viewership just constantly kind of dwindling down. And it's a self-fulfilling cycle in some ways because the more you make uninspired art, the more people are going to tune out and they don't care to see it. But this you see the same thing with the movies. Like, what do these movie studios all want? Well, they all want guaranteed hits. Why? Because movies are so expensive to make, or some movies are so expensive to make, and they want to know they're going to get a return on their investment. And so one huge advantage to YouTube, and one reason you can see art flourish on YouTube is because the overhead is so low that oftentimes you can make stuff work that you could never make work on TV. Like with small audiences and like, you're not getting as many views as a TV show, but you're actually getting way higher profit margins and you're able to survive on it for whatever reason. Yeah. And so you can therefore be creative. Creativity is sort of a luxury of people who can support themselves. And so I view a lot of like especially newspapers where they've gone down the toilet. Why? Because the economics of mass media and click articles relying on clicks
not sustainable.
Is garbage. Yep. Well, it just makes it's a race to the bottom, right? Because it's a race to the most clickbait, sensationalist, trash, media there is. So I do see that as like, anytime I see somebody kind of getting really desperate for clicks, I just think, or really desperate in their content is not very creative. I just think that person really must be desperate. I mean, that's what it usually is.
To me, it feels like YouTube for a lot of communities is also a race to the bottom in terms of the type of content.
Yep.
But it has this unique, but it also has this race to the top quality in the sense that there is a value for quality videos on YouTube, whether it's through the audience retention, the watch time, whatever analytics that are correlated with it or not, there is a value given to true quality on YouTube in terms of production, in terms of effort put into it. That's something I think people actually kind of miss. Like, not that I'm some YouTube know-it-all, but I think I see a lot of small channels start out where like, they have the basic fundamentals of a formula that does well on YouTube, but they're missing like the effort, like you could tell they're just kind of going through the motions or something. They're missing like putting what makes it theirs.
Generic or whatever.
Yeah.
Steven has something to say. I could see. Yeah. See bubbling.
No. I want to hear you, Sam. What are you going to say?
I know. I had nothing to say. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Sam, it looks like you're slowly baking in an oven. Like you're
it's
a potato
so
chip
hot in my room. I'm fucking dying, dude. The AC just like not hitting my house.
It's fine where I am, and I live in the middle of the desert. So
dude,
this is nuts.
Today was like
so keep complaining, Sam. Look, I completely agree. Well, I think in general, there's so few people actually taking risks to do something new on in YouTube, and I didn't really even realize how small I had been thinking. Like, I had just been kind of content to make my little video essays. And I was sort of like, at some point, I was like, I'm kind of like 20 other channels. I'm sort of replaceable by 20 other channels on this platform. And I don't like that. Like, I was like, this kind of doesn't make sense. I mean, there's 20 other guys that make video essays. Not even 20, like hundreds of other guys. And I was like, they look like me, and oftentimes they're better than I am. And I don't think my videos are as good as theirs are. And it's like, well...
Yeah, but do they look better than you? Probably not.
But it's true. Wow. I can't argue with the
but I know what
you
mean. I know exactly.
Yeah, like people want to copy what works, but as soon as you copy what works, it's like
doesn't work
you're derivative. I mean, you're not the original. So
you got to start trends, not chase them.
Hey, that's what the $10 million studio is all about, dude. I'm getting people on the virtual trend. Sorry, did I say virtual? I don't know what I'm talking about. I meant real monitor. Slush. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Can I bring this
yeah,
down
of
for a
course.
second?
Back to you, Slush.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I thought it was
Frying
funny
over
that you
there
did
in that
it
oven.
here, because I saw you doing it like in your videos. So when you did it here, I was like, is this just like Pavlovian response? Like he can't help it now.
Yeah, dude, it's real. I don't want to get
He's
hit.
conditioned by it. He doesn't even know what's real and not anymore.
It's true. I have no idea. I could be dreaming, but I have five
Yo, y'all
fingers,
seen
so I
that
think I'm not.
Bitcoin dropping?
Yeah, I wanted to.
I
Yeah, I
bought
was gonna
some
ask
today.
about like
About $500.
how you feel about Elon Musk. Actually, because I feel like I'm just hearing nothing about Elon Musk these last few days, and everyone like, with his turning on Bitcoin and there was the SNL thing.
Guys,
Tell us
troll.
about your brother Elon.
Guy's a massive troll. Okay.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, though, I'm starting to think. Okay,
He's a plant. He's a plant.
no, he's kind of the smartest, dumbest person I've ever met. If that makes sense.
Yeah, he's a plant.
Like
I
he
think
does a
he's-
bunch of stuff that I think, like whenever I hear him talk about some topics, like I heard him talk about like thrusters and and space and SpaceX, and the guy's so intelligent in the nitty gritty engineering details.
Mm-hmm.
But when I hear him talk about a lot of things, I'm like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, he's what we might call on the spectrum. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick about saying that. A lot of people are on the spectrum.
People on the
but
spectrum, they don't know what they're talking about.
He
I think
literally
he-
admitted that on SNL. He
Yeah.
literally admitted yeah.
So,
I
I
think
that
it's
is
kind of
part of
obvious.
it.
Well, I don't think so.
Which isn't a bad thing, by the way, because it means you are actually a lot more proficient in detail, like knowledge that a lot of people, like you were saying, this.
I think he's
detailed
just
stuff
sort of a
about thrusters.
bullshit artist, though. No.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at is that I think so I don't know if you remember, but like a little while back I came to talk to you because I wanted to do this video regarding get rich quick culture. I eventually decided I don't really want to do it, but one of these threads that I was going at was I was going to sort of prove that Elon Musk is the new face of get rich quick culture. What do you think about that? Yeah.
How so?
I just felt like he was everything about him was like over perceived value. Whether he was pushing it through the stocks, whether it's his company Tesla, you know what I mean? Like it was just this constant thing.
I
I
feel like
agree.
Elon
Elon is
Musk.
the Antichrist.
No, I think he's just really good at building he's the best marketer I've ever seen. And he's great at building a cult. He's got a cult following, very smart about it, very good about how he's marketed himself.
But I don't think he's trying to. I think he's just memeing, but it's working that way. I honestly
Yeah.
think so. I know
But
that
it's
sounds
like-
crazy, but
It is
he's-
genius, though. Like the way he made himself
It's
seem like he's the
unintentionally
founder.
genius.
He made himself seem like he's the founder of Tesla. He's not. He made himself seem like he's the founder of PayPal. He's not. His whole origin story of being like a broke kid from South Africa is not true. He was rich. So it's like everything about him, all his background that has led up to the cult he now kind of commands and possesses, sort of is kind of smart marketing and sort of a huge
Dude,
stretching
he's
of
the
the truth.
final boss for your channel.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
He's lying.
No,
but
because
gently.
the genius thing about Elon Musk is he's finally succeeded enough to where he's definitely not fake. That's
Yeah.
the thing. He didn't start Tesla, but he did take Tesla to where it went. He didn't start PayPal, but he kind of was a part of PayPal, right?
Right.
He's not the end all be all genius, but he kind of is a genius. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
He's legit enough to where
He's
if you're gonna call him a loser, you have to contend with the fact that he has a rocket that can flip upside down and
Right.
land itself. It's
You
like
gotta
yeah,
deal
good
with that
luck.
rocket. You got to deal
You
with
It's
gotta
like
that
he
deal with the
took
rocket.
his good qualities and he just like scaled them out into like this false scaling though.
Into
Well, I think
absurdity.
that's
Yeah.
the future human. Future humans are gonna. He's like the first future human, I think, where it's like the autist meets the engineer. Or,
Take those glasses off. I can't take you seriously with those glasses on.
It's gonna
telling
be
me
like-
about future
Well, I'm
humans.
trying
Let me
to-
tell
I'm
you,
trying to become
they're
a
gonna wear
human.
those glasses
2008
while they
glasses.
No,
Yeah.
I'm trying to become a future human myself. This helps
Okay,
me
sorry.
scan
Yeah.
for all the data.
Put 'em back
so the thing is,
Put on the damn glasses.
no, well now I don't want to just because you told me. So the thing is, Elon is kind of, but he's what he's doing really is that he's mixing his knowledge of like these detailed things, like you're saying about rockets and all that, and knowing how these things work, and actually kind of leveraging that to sell an idea, which is ultimately helping him to create the thing, right? Like in this case, the rockets. Maybe he actually cares the most about the rockets, and maybe he doesn't even give a shit about. He never gave a shit about PayPal or Tesla or even Solar City or whatever, for example. I don't know. I really don't know what he cares about. But it's like, do you know what I'm saying, though? Where he's like harnessing the hype for that, let's say, and then using it to actually create something. That's kind of interesting to me.
I think that's partially true.
I mean, the Solar City thing was like, they didn't really end up doing it, right?
No, he bought out Solar City with Tesla.
Right.
Still around.
Yeah.
But like they never actually did any sort of installation of solar roof tiles.
It was mostly hype.
Yeah, exactly.
People did install it, I think, but it just wasn't done on a massive scale. I believe.
It mostly just nothing really happened.
The Boring Company was also a gigantic failure. I mean, look, he's had big L's, but I agree with you, Glink, that I think maybe it's not his main goal. Maybe his main goal is this Boring Company, is SpaceX.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I know Bezos, that's like his big thing too, interestingly enough.
Really?
He's like, yeah, he's into space. They launched their own rocket. I don't know what his company's called, but he has his own like space company that has their own private
I thought Bezos' big thing was underpaying people and making them pee in bottles.
Well, that's like the mainstream news cover story, but
they're
deeper
both
than that.
They're aliens that have crashed here, and now they're trying to fund the research.
They're trying to
get
go back home.
And
exactly.
Bezos' species, they just pee in bottles and work a lot. That's just normal for them. Okay?
That's what they do back home. That's his culture.
It's the disconnect.
On Zorgon. Yeah. That's their culture.
Clearly.
You can't blame him for that. And Elon too, they're just like, this is a GoFundMe to get the fuck back home for them,
Yeah.
That's true.
They're playing the long game. All right, this is the long con. This is the multi-dimensional interstellar.
What do y'all think about billionaires, huh? While we're on the topic, I've been souring on them a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
I don't view billionaires as a monolith.
I think that
fair enough.
I want to live in a world where like nobody wants to be a billionaire. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I mean like the people who are billionaires today, like instead of becoming billionaires, they just gave more back to society or whatever. Like they were just such good people, I don't want them to be forced to do it. I just want them to be good enough to choose to do it.
In other
Obviously,
words,
that's
you don't see that as a root.
It'll never happen.
No, but you're seeing past that to the root problem, which is not whether there are billionaires or aren't billionaires, but it's what
people's greediness.
It's just, it really is representative, unfortunately, of maximum greediness and not caring about.
I think it's power too. I think it's the desire for power. I think when you get that much money, you're wanting to sort of like, you don't care about the money itself. You care about what the money represents, which is power and being number one, right?
Yeah.
So like, dude, y'all hear the Bill Gates news? Y'all hear it? This is what started my whole
bad news recently.
Billionaire, conflagration is this whole disaster with Epstein.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of stuff coming out about that.
He's been lying about how close he is to Epstein. I'm about to make a video about it.
Ooh.
I defended Bill Gates, dude. I defended
a lot of people
this
did.
man.
A lot of people did.
I said this man is he's little charity boy. He's just a charity boy.
I don't trust Bill
No,
Gates.
dude. No. He's sketchy. When it was found out, okay, MIT lab. Things came out that Epstein was funding MIT lab.
Oh, dude. You know about this story. This story's crazy.
They approached Gates and they said, "Hey, did you like do anything with this?" No, nothing. I have nothing to do with Epstein. Okay, come to find out, that's not true. Gates actually, there was a thing from Joy Ito, the director of the MIT Media Lab, saying this is a $2 million grant directed by Epstein by Bill Gates or whatever. So clearly they were involved. Okay, well, yeah, maybe we were involved with the grant, but I don't really know him. Okay, well, it's found out that he had emails where he talked about meeting Epstein. So he goes, okay, fine. I just met him, no relationship with him at all. Then a New York Times report comes out. Jeff Bezos Bill Gates met with him multiple times, numerous times. Okay, fine. I met with him, but I never traveled with him. I didn't go to Palm Beach, Florida or anything. Flight logs get released. Flight logs get released. Yeah. Palm Beach, Florida. He literally went to the place that he said he didn't go to. Okay.
Oh, no.
So then it's like every time he's just lying to people. Then he's like, yeah, only meetings with men. And then we get an email going, yeah, this very attractive Swedish lady stopped by and I stayed late into the night. And then he's like sending emails like, hey, I really like Jeffrey Epstein's, his lifestyle is intriguing, but may not work for me. And then when asked about what he meant by Epstein's life was intriguing, he goes, I was talking about the decor.
Sure. Right.
Shut up, dude. I was like, these billionaires, they're all in on it, dude. Of course. Ghislaine is with
Coffeezilla's life is sure intriguing with all that decor
Bill
in
Gates.
the background.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's like, come on. No one ever said that. So, no, the
I think
billionaires.
your subscribers would disagree. But
I've been souring on those. I don't even call them billionaires. What I'll call them are elites.
Yes.
Elites of society. Because it's not about having a few bucks. It's about having so much power that you just go crazy. You just go loco, dude. Like Warren Buffett, the most straight-laced guy, seemingly, on Earth. Like, he's very, like...
He probably did some fucked up shit, right?
Like, look at Grandpa. Dude, he's, like, in some polyamorous relationship and has been for, like, years. I'm just
not even surprised anymore.
You get enough power, you're just kind of... You're gonna.
How long till we find out what he's been doing with kids?
And I'm not... Yeah. I think we'll find much worse things about a lot of these guys as time moves on. But my point
I hope
is
not.
that...
I hope not.
My point is not that, like... that's not just, like, a random dig at, I guess... polyamory, whatever. I'm just saying none of them are leading like normal, like traditional lives. There's always a wrinkle. Like Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google, or he was. I found out that he was like buying a penthouse, but he had to make sure it was all soundproof. Like the entire penthouse was all soundproof. And it's like,
what's he up to?
Why?
Why?
What are you doing in
American Psycho experiment?
Yeah. So my point is just like that consistently. I just like keep running into these billionaires. I'm like, oh, you're not. It's not even that you just have a lot of money.
Sense,
it's just like,
right? Psychologically,
like you're fucked up.
Because it's like here's how it makes sense to me. When you get past a certain point of wealth, you accumulate so much disposable income that it's like it just becomes a game of like, what can I indulge in? What can
I think it's not even that. Honestly,
what can be an interesting, like you're always going to want to make life more interesting. It's like playing a video game on cheat codes, right? When you have basically infinite money, it's like, oh, I can do all this crazy shit now. Okay, I'm just going to be a little bit more wild. You know, you're going to act a little bit more wild when you got the cheat codes in the game. You're not just going to play by the rules. You're going to do some weird shit. And unfortunately, this manifests in some bad ways for some of these people.
I shouldn't have hated on Buffett because I think his relationship was consensual. I'm hating mostly on like the Gates Epstein connection, and then the Eric Schmidt thing I found very weird. But my point is just like none of the I thought you make a great point there. Is they're just living life on cheat codes? So they're like, I need excitement.
But that implies that anyone who had the cheat codes, if you gave it to a bunch of people,
anyone. No,
not anyone, but like it just implies that like it has more to do with I feel like it has more to do with the person than the cheat codes. Yes, the person to get to the point where they get cheat codes is most likely
the person changes from the cheat codes. That's another thing.
I agree with you, but I think that the
Sam,
people
lower your voice. If we gave you $1 billion, you'd go nuts. Let's be honest.
I agree with you on that too. Okay. Probably. I don't know how I would act.
You buy each of us houses.
The thing is that people don't just get $1 billion. Okay, it doesn't just happen. People just get given $1 billion. They acquire the $1 billion, and how to get to that point? What kind of person do you have to be? You really think?
No, that's all true. That's all true. But what I'm saying is, it's a two-way thing, right? It's also it's
you're
as
right.
with
It is
anything.
2 ways. It's both.
It's as with anything, there's multi-levels to it, right? Because what you're saying is true. It takes it's already a self-filtering system of the kind of person that's going to be a billionaire is already a certain kind of person to begin with. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a billionaire, or they're putting in the time to be that kind of person, right? Like there is no just landing in their lap unless they're inheriting the money, I guess. But but to your point, and then the other side of it is like, but also the billionaire lifestyle will definitely affect a person's psyche compared to before they were a billionaire.
Can you imagine having the power just to change anyone's life overnight forever? Everybody you meet, every single person you meet it's sort of in the back of your pocket. You're like, I could. In fact, to any level, to any degree, you can make their life easier. You can make it in a small way. You can say like, hey, I'll take dinner. I'll take dinner tonight. Hey, just come out for dinner. No big deal. You can do it a little bigger. You can be like, hey, I bought you something. You do a little bigger. Like, hey, I paid
check
off
your
your college.
driveway.
Yeah. It's like, that's the crazy thing. And that comes with power over people. I mean, people.
Hey, look under your desk.
Well, let's look at Bill Gates as an example. Since we started with Bill Gates, right? How much do you think whatever he's guilty of doing, we don't know, right?
I don't know.
Full details. But like, let's say it turns out to be some of the worst.
I just don't think you can hang out with Epstein and not get a little dirty.
Just stop hanging out with fucking pedophiles. Is that too much to ask?
Let's say he's guilty of what you might expect someone who hangs out with Epstein to be guilty of. Okay. Do you think how much of that do you think is related to the being a billionaire, and how much of that do you think is related to being who Bill Gates is? Because he's also famously was like with Steve Jobs, he kind of like stole his idea a little bit and all that stuff. You know, has a history of being unethical.
Comes down to morals.
Yes, that's
your
definitely
morals
what I'm getting at.
are the foundation of everything. If you don't value life, if you don't value the truth, if you don't value, there's a number of things that you can value and you can think are of the utmost importance to your character to basically have integrity, of not crossing certain boundaries, then you have strong morals. But I think to your point, Sam, like that is, I agree, that's the foundational problem. If someone has strong enough morals, the amount of money shouldn't change
the potential for how far in the bad direction they'll go is like lessened by the base of who they are and how they see the world. Definitely.
Exactly. You can actually control it. The more grounded you are, the less
it has.
You could think of money, and you could even think of like probably substances in a similar capacity here, where they affect your ability to what you're able to think about is expanded. Because money, when you're working, paycheck to paycheck, your mind is sort of limited in the sense that you're stressed out about that. There's actually studies about this, how financial stress is a real thing, where it'll actually lower your working IQ because you're stressed about, working your job and providing for yourself, right? Basic human necessities. And unfortunately, way too many people are stuck in that mindset because they have to focus on their day to day. But what I'm trying to say is that the people who have just ridiculous amounts of money and never have to worry about it, their imagination can sort of run wild, which is kind of what I was getting at earlier. Right. But also psychedelics are kind of like that too. But in both instances, your ego is very easily inflated. Your sense of your disconnect to reality is very possible, but in order to stay grounded, you have to be a very grounded person. And I think it takes strong beliefs, like morals, like for some people, it's very strong spiritual, religious beliefs, things like that to keep you grounded.
I completely agree. I mean, I like what you said. Like, it really just comes down to options. I mean, when you're broke, you don't have the option to be that bad. I mean, how bad can you really be when you're broke? When you're a billionaire, you can be as bad as you want and basically suffer nothing. I mean, like with impunity. I mean, I watched the Epstein doc. It's wild. I didn't realize that this guy had gone to jail. Did y'all realize he had gone to jail for this minor solicitation? That. But then in jail, he was just walking out.
He was exonerated, yeah.
No,
not exonerated, but he was.
He had a work release. So imagine this: you go into jail. 6 days out of that week, you can leave for 12 hours of the day and do whatever you want.
Dude, that's a sick jail. I kind of want to go there.
No, it's not a jail at all. It's like a bad motel, I think is what they said in the documentary. It's ridiculous. So I was like, that goes to the point about if you have money, you have power. And if you have power, you can sort of do whatever you want with no
like
consequences.
Wolf of Wall Street at the end where he's like, for a moment I forgot that I was rich. And then it shows him playing tennis in prison, yeah.
Yeah, that was sick. I kind of wanted to be there playing tennis.
Yeah, it looked nice. Damn, I should go to prison.
Then again, the sprawling apartment complexes are starting to look a lot like that too. So,
like a prison.
That's a different.
It's funny.
That's a different discussion.
Just a little quip from Glink right there.
A little deep cut from Glink.
We'll use that as the entire podcast.
Yeah. So I didn't know you play piano, dude, because I'm learning piano.
Ah.
Sam plays piano. We've actually recorded
really.
samples of us playing. It's not great, but little bits and pieces are decent. We actually used that for the intro last time. And
Let me listen to it real quick.
We're forming a piano band, and we want you in.
Dude, I'm in.
Okay, let's fucking
I
go.
sing though too.
It's more like a keyboard band, but
Yeah.
You sing?
Of course.
Dude.
Now I do. Not really. I don't really sing. I've started
be
to
like-
learn to sing. I can
You'll
play
be our
piano.
backup singer.
What
I'll-
kind of
I'll-
style
I'll be on
is
lead
it?
vocals.
What genre do you, if that's placeable?
Jazz. You're a jazz man.
Yeah, mostly jazz stuff or like jazz blues.
How does one sing
soul.
in jazz tone?
It's all feeling, baby.
No,
It's
I mean
all
like.
feeling, baby.
Oh yeah, you can go like Sinatra, like "Fly Me to the Moon," or you could do something like a little, I don't know.
Whoa. When is
more
the
like,
music channel coming?
you know, that kind of stuff. The music
It's
channel.
where it started. That's where it began.
It's where it started,
Where it's
and
gonna
maybe
end.
it's where
Dude,
it ends. I don't know.
Listen,
Yeah.
music. I'm telling you something. Music is the future of content creation online for YouTubers. It so is. It's
a
Well,
lot of
I say
YouTubers
that.
are doing it right now.
Okay, here's why. Here's why. Think about it in this sense. This is how I thought about it. I know it's not considering every factor, but a good video that you upload, best video you ever fucking made. Most of the time, people are going to watch it, enjoy it, maybe watch it one other time. You make a good ass song, a catchy song, people are going to listen to that dozens of times, hundreds of times even. Just that one song, which is only a few minutes long. And it's more creative. It's more artistic. Obviously, it's hard to kind of break into the zeitgeist with music. But the point is, as a content creation business model, from a business perspective, I feel like it's also the future, a good future for a lot of YouTubers.
I like how you think about that. This like replayability factor.
Yeah.
I do think that's really interesting. I think it's
Something
a
to
good
consider.
mix. I think it's good to spice it up. I do plan to eventually spice it up with some music. Absolutely. Like, I really am inspired by Dr. Disrespect. I mean, if you couldn't tell.
Clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Disrespect, though, he does like some music stuff, and he's not even a musician, and he does some stuff.
He
And,
just
like,
pays people to work with him.
He
Music is
kills
just
it,
great
dude.
content,
He freaking
man.
kills it.
Yeah.
Music is a universal language. It's always going to be good content.
But like, but you got to have what I like. Okay, so man, I could talk about Dr. Disrespect forever. That guy is changing the game. At least he was
cool.
for a while. I don't know
He's
if he's
alright.
he's
Stagnated
definitely-
a little bit, I would say.
He's definitely-
he's stuck on YouTube now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he
But-
kind of hit his peak, if I'm going to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, like, he's kind of hit his I don't want to say creative peak, but I just mean he's kind of dug himself into a hole a little bit because he's played so much of a character that he is now limited by that character to whatever that means. Maybe it means he'll be relevant for the next 5 years or 10 years, but I just feel
kind
like
of disagree with that a little bit. I kind of
Okay.
see him as like a wrestler, and like famously in wrestling, like these characters will like change dramatically.
That's
you
true.
know, like Hulk Hogan became like he had like this whole like American thing.
You
know?
rebrand, yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah, that's true.
so like he could just do that at any point in time.
I think I think what you're seeing as stagnation is probably him working on other projects and making his main channel sort of like a side job for a while.
Possibly.
To support like what he wants. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, that he's like one of the most creative creators that I've seen in a while. Other people are like, Mr. Beast is changing the game. Who do you guys think, though? Who in your experience is like, really do you look at and you go, okay, that guy's doing something in a way that no one else really is? For me, that was Dr. Disrespect. It was Mr. Beast. I think KSI is really cool. I think where he does the reactions, but he also does like music and like really high quality stuff. But there's not a lot. My list is pretty short for like of
I have
creators I
0 people
really
on my
respect.
list, literally.
I have a
Really?
few across
Yeah.
time, so I'll try to let me like tell you how
Well, yeah, okay. Across time, sure. I would also be putting Dr.
Okay, then let's
Disrespect
do
on my
that.
list.
Let's do that. Okay, let
Yeah,
me
just
start off
of
with,
all time. Logan Paul's sick too right now. Logan Paul's crushing it.
Oh, I want to talk
with
about
the
that
UFC
briefly.
stuff.
Just
I want to get to that actually, but I'll say like to begin with, for me, I've always thought, obviously, James Rolfe, AVGN, was always very inspiring just because of how, from such an early time in YouTube, he was making this basically like
he invented
films.
Modern gaming content.
He really did. And he set the bar pretty damn high that even now you go back and you can watch them and they're still enjoyable. You know, they're still, the quality is good. The production's good. It's a little bit, you know, like you've seen this kind of content a lot now since then, but the actual quality of it was so super high as well. So that was one person for sure. This other group, which is way lesser known, is called Mega 64. I'm actually wearing their shirt right now. These guys to this day definitely still inspire me because they started out doing like 10 years ago when I first started watching them, when I was kind of first getting into YouTube, they would do video game skits in real life. Like you guys have probably seen them. But they would do these really kind of like viral video game skits in real life and mess with the public basically. It was really funny. And I used to watch them for that, but then their content slowly transitioned to where now they're like they'll like remake an anime series in 5 minutes with all practical effects and with like actors, live action, but like a bunch of it's just so they did like a DBZ one, Evangelion one. It's just so well made, and it's like they are staying so true to the source material while creating this awesome, like, I don't know, amazingly high production film basically in a short amount of time. So they're definitely a big inspiration. And in terms of like, yeah, I mean, those are the main ones. I feel like a lot of the other people I look up to, I view more so as like my rivals in like a friendly way, in the sense that like I'm inspired by them, but I also want to put out stuff better than them. Like, again, someone who we always talk about on the show is Lemon, and like he does great video essays. Another guy I really like is What I've Learned, or Jay Everett, whatever. Like he kind of does stuff you would be into. You've probably seen some of his videos.
Oh yeah.
He's great. Like his content's pretty inspiring.
I think that
as well.
everyone that I
Frank
feel,
Yang.
yeah, I was gonna say Frank Yang also. Like everyone that I feel, it's like because I think I like their art. I find their art unique. So Frank Yang is one of them. $1 Million Extreme, you know, back when Sam Hyde was doing YouTube content before he went off the deep end. Very unique visually and like all this stuff. You know what I mean? So like those are the kinds of things that come up to me. Whereas, like, I feel like what you're looking at, someone like Dr. Disrespect or Mr. Beast, you're like, these guys are changing the way people do it, and everyone's going to copy them. Whereas I'm thinking of people who are, like, irreplaceable, but not necessarily people are going to try and be
not
like
necessarily
them.
Trendsetters in a way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that, like, Sam Hyde led to H3,
though, yeah.
H3, and that had a big effect on the commentary community or whatever. But I can't think of anyone that I've been really into that's, like, Mr. Beast. That has like had that sort of effect on the ecosystem.
Yeah,
PewDiePie maybe to some people he would be one of them for sure. PewDiePie
maybe.
Yeah, like what impresses me about some of these guys is what they're doing at the highest level, where they're like really putting on massive productions. I mean, that sort of just interests me. Like Logan Paul's just gotten really good at storytelling. I mean, some of his vlogs now are like not a joke. I mean, like they're interesting. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten really into storytelling, and so I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But what's interesting about telling stories is that YouTube, it's completely different from TV. In TV, you have like a 3-act structure, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You can apply similar principles to YouTube, but it doesn't translate necessarily one-to-one. Like you don't have actors, right? You're supposed to do it live. And then typically in TV, you don't break the fourth wall, but YouTube, you're always breaking the fourth wall and like addressing the audience. So that's like a weird difference. And so I'm trying to watch people who have done it at the highest level and saying, how can I do what they're doing right? And then try to take it to put my own twist or take it to my own next level. But as far as what you guys are talking about, which I think of as more of like, I'm artistically like moved by these people, is definitely not those guys I just mentioned. That answer is that I'm mostly moved by like books and graphic novels and things like that. Like I get inspired by, I almost never really get like truly inspired by YouTube. No offense to YouTube. I get moved by like movies.
You like physical media or older forms of media more.
Yeah. Well, I just think they're in some ways objectively better. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Like
that's true.
What their goal is, right? I think that like some things only a YouTube video can do, and then other things can be done
The
better.
one thing YouTube has over everybody is they have this like gonzo format to them where it's like you're really in it, and there's no real artifice there. You're sort of, you can like, you know, visit a town with that guy, and there's no pretension of like we have a camera crew. It's like just the guy. So that's really cool. There's some uniquenesses, but when I think of like storytelling, when I think of like masterful special effects or anything that I sort of care about, it's all better, you know, been done better.
Sure.
Right.
No offense to
That's
YouTube.
that's something I think I'm coming to grips with, and I'm figuring out what I need to take a step back on, if I'm going to be honest, because what you just said is undeniably true. Everyone has seen, you know, way better visuals, even way better cinematography, editing, flashy effects than anything you or I have the time, money, or skills to produce on YouTube, right? But like, I don't know, maybe it's me trying to hold on to something, but I still feel like, well, even though that's true, I feel like that's an important part of storytelling is the visuals. And so I want to make visuals that have an impact on the viewer. I think that makes
perfect sense. To want to have that sort of to want to do cool visuals or something that goes along with the story, because I mean, sure, just because like the other mediums might be able to do it better, they have greater potential, doesn't mean that like your audience isn't going to appreciate a video that's more entertaining.
I don't think they necessarily have better potential. I think they're more mature, and at this moment they have more money in them, and the more money you have, the more budget you have to do like these things. I think what we're watching right now though is this YouTube qualities like this, and TV quality and movie quality, sort of like their budgets are going down and they're having to find ways to sort of do more with less, and YouTubers have more and they can do more. So like, I mean, I think you've seen like Linus Tech Tips, Marquez Brownlee, they're doing some really good B-roll shots. I mean, it's not a movie because it's a tech review, but the kinds of cameras, the kinds of equipment that they have access to now,
it's impressive stuff. Yeah.
No, it's like a cinema camera. A lot of these guys are like having access to. Yeah. So I think you're going to see a blending of the two, and I want to take the best of, if possible, both, and apply it to the kind of stories I want to tell.
Right.
I guess editing has a place in that future too. Then, right? Yeah, because it's like, you know, ultimately you need good editing, you need good actors, like all these things. It's almost like YouTube is built. I see what you're saying though. YouTube is building. It's almost like building itself to replace the more legacy forms or whatever of, you know, movies or TV shows, right? Because it's now the production value of YouTube, at least for a large enough subset of channels, is basically matching traditional forms of media, or even surpassing.
Look at Mr. Beast's new video about the where he like is chased by these people. It's like a movie. I mean, the guy, I was watching, I was like so impressed. It's like, this is incredible. He's got drone shots overhead. He's got a boat chase scene. Like he's got like entire like movie scenes in the thing. He's got a car chase. I mean, these are all things you'd see in a movie, and it's like, oh, it's just on YouTube now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
It's exciting.
Definitely. It is.
See, I would love to just have access to like all these toys to play with, to just like see what kind of crazy cool thing I could make, you know?
Yeah. Well, in a way though, what I've discovered from making videos, at least the ones I've been making lately, is that we actually have, if you have a camera, like a decent camera and decent editing software, you can make a lot of like really cool things
that's true.
Are awesome with just not a huge amount of equipment or like even
100%
professional lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
That's like the YouTube purist to me, is like someone who's just basically trying to do a lot with a little, or sometimes just like, you know, trying to do something in a different way than other people are, whether it's through lighting their room. Like you see this a lot with YouTubers. The basic thing they'll do is like they'll light their room differently, but it's a nice little touch. It's like, you know, they're trying to add their own spin to it, their own spice to it. That kind of stuff is good.
No, totally agree. I mean, I do think it's interesting watching the push towards quality for YouTubers, and then there's also this feeling of nostalgia for old YouTube, like back when it was like, you know, 360p whatever. I don't know if people just have rosy glasses
like
about
less
that,
corporate or whatever.
or maybe
They like
there
the
really is
simplicity.
something.
There is something. It's
yeah, and there-
authenticity.
It's
The authenticity.
Yeah.
Well, what sucks though is like, if I get a super nice set and a super nice camera, it doesn't make me any less authentic, but it feels less authentic, which is weird. Why? Why is that?
Because we have this perception from conditioning that like, oh, this nice camera equals Hollywood or corporate or professional, you know? And we
Yeah,
haven't...
because like I'm the
I don't
same
think
guy
it's a
that
nice
I was
camera
when I was
thing.
like,
But like...
I don't think it's a nice camera thing.
Yeah, 'cause-
I think it's the fact that it shows that you're a completely self-aware channel, in the sense that you just kind of said it in your own words. Your room is a set, right?
Yeah, it's a
functioning as
show.
set.
Yeah,
it's a show.
right.
It's a show. And there's nothing wrong with having a show, and there's many benefits and whatever, but it is like a level different than this is just my room that I live in.
Then
Right.
And I'll admit my room, this backdrop is something in between, because all of this is somewhat specifically arranged. It's a little bit functional, but it's mostly for my camera, like my webcam or whatever. If I put my camera here or something, different angles of my camera basically is what this is set up for. So even this, and like you'll see this a lot with YouTubers too, right? Where maybe they won't have a green screen, but like the trope is the gaming YouTuber who just has like piles and piles of games, or the movie reviewer where it's like the ultimate nerd room.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's just a trope at this point. But that's
Well,
like the
no,
same
it's
idea,
very
right?
interesting. You can like sort of fake it too, right? Like I've heard, I don't know if this is true. I think it's true though. Philly D used to shoot in his like in a house in his like house or whatever, and he shot in that room, and he moved to a studio, but he kept the room the same. So he had to like build a bedroom
Yep.
in a studio,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is like a funny way of
seen
like
it, yeah.
So
you're a
weird.
set, but you're like faking
That's
a
so
bedroom.
weird.
He
That's so
recognizes
weird
the
to me.
value of being like that friend talking to you about the news.
Hey,
Yeah, but there's an
let's just
element of
jump
real
into it.
fakeness to it. It's a real fake thing.
It
I
is,
mean,
yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying
It's
that
faker
makes
than
him
your
fake.
set. It's faker than your set.
Whoa! Wow! Wait a second. Yeah, no. I got you.
No, but I mean,
I think
you're
both
being
are the
more
same.
upfront, is my
I
point.
think both are the same. No, I think they're the same. Like a set and a fake set that's pretending to be a room.
Same thing,
They're
yeah,
kind
of
of-
course.
But you're
It's
not
just about
pretending to be a room.
perception.
Yours is a show. Yours is a show.
Right.
It's not trying to
I'm
be a
just
room.
pretending to be
That's
the $10
difference.
million studio. Right.
Sure, yeah.
And it's actually more relatable because
Exactly.
it's kind of obvious that it's fake, and it's sort of like, oh, well, this guy's like me. He's pretending
He's a
he has $10
gamer.
million, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a fun thing. Whereas, like, with Philly D, it's like, oh, this guy's pretending he's like me, right? When he's clearly
Let's
not.
just jump into it. Okay,
Hey
guys?
guys, let's just. What's up? Sup? Sup,
guys?
Sup?
Yeah,
try to mess
beautiful
up, man.
bastards.
I turned myself into a pickle and 9/11 was an inside job. Was it? Who cares, Maury? Global acts of terrorism happen every day.
Wow.
You knew it by the episode. I'm
I can
impressed.
tell you guys are very deep and you read a lot of books.
No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I think it's just kind of like a simple name that's combining Glink and Slush, obviously.
I
but
know. Yeah.
It's also just like made to represent sort of the congealment of everything, the return to childlike sense of wonder and
Yeah.
imagination.
It
that we
actually
all
represents
need more of.
oneness.
Psychoanalyst Glink taking
Yeah.
us down memory lane here. Nice.
Yeah, let's just hope I don't end up on a Coffeezilla video one day. I think Kino will, though.
I think it'll end up on Philip DeFranco.
Oh, man. Maybe.
Oh, you know.
No, you guys
Hopefully
aren't
not
showing up,
Keemstar.
man. You guys aren't showing up on Coffeezilla. Well, unless it's a guest spot, unless it's a fun spot.
Okay. That'd be sick. We can
Unless
talk
you decide to
about,
commit fraud or something.
We would never do that. Anyways, guys, if you want to make money, Gush has just opened a
subscribe to
brand new course.
Check the links below for
Secrets
Gush,
to Wealth.
Guys,
courses.
don't do any of that. Go to Coffeezilla, subscribe. Get off of this channel. What are you doing here?
Oh, okay. Here comes
Come
the
to
plug.
Coffeezilla right now.
that
Follow me
too.
on Twitter at coffeebreak_YT. Or
What do you tweet about?
Could
What do you could have just do random tweets.
random. I don't have a theme.
No.
I need a theme. I notice other people have themes. I need
You
to
don't
be
need
like,
a theme, dude.
You want to be
don't
like
need a theme.
Oki and adopt the theme?
dude.
You could be
Oki's
the white
that's
samurai.
strong.
Oki is the black samurai. You could be the white samurai.
By the way, I'm not white. I need to put this in record because everyone thinks I'm Cuban.
oh,
Really?
that makes sense. You do look
Respect,
Cuban, actually.
respect the game.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, no one's gonna
You
believe
do
that.
look Cuban. You do look Cuban.
I'm actually half Cuban, half German. That's the technical
Dude,
breakdown.
you're literally
So-
destiny.
Kinda white.
Conqueror is in my destiny.
You're Destiny. He's Destiny. That's what I just. He's like the same
Holy
thing.
shit! We're talking.
Dude,
to
you're
Destiny?
Destiny's brother.
Oh wait, what?
Are you just him on his off time?
Oh,
you do how much time
you're
is
talking about the
Coffeezilla?
streamer Destiny. No, I have realized that at some point.
Dude,
Because I think
you are
'cause
literally
I think
Destiny.
I think he's short. I'm short too. I'm like one Joe
This is
Rogan tall. I
crazy.
think he's one
This
Joe
is
Rogan
crazy.
tall. I think we do have a lot alike. Yeah, he's half Cuban.
So
I
when
think,
do you?
This is nuts.
Are you going to
When
be
did you
Destiny
realize
later
you were the
tonight?
same person?
How does that work?
What?
When do you switch? Like when do you become Destiny and when do you go back to being Steven?
You're
Yeah.
effing wrong, man. Minimum wage doesn't work that way. I don't know. What I
Is
have to
coffee
turn
the
on.
trigger? Like when you drink a cup of coffee, it's Steven mode? Dude, your guys'
I don't
names
know.
are both Steven! Your names are both fucking Steven! Holy shit, they're the same person! We've been talking to Destiny this whole fucking time! Dude!
Dude, you just put that together for me.
This is
Glink's like
some David
spaced
Blaine
out right now.
shit. This
His
is like
mind
some
is
David Blaine
destroyed,
shit.
dude.
That was
Are we actually
crazier
the
than
same-
David Blaine's latest stunt on
Are
YouTube.
we actually the same person? Like we're doing the Prestige right
Yeah,
now.
that's what
Yeah.
you're doing. Exactly. I was
Yeah.
thinking that when I was looking at your webcam. I'm like, this is the
Is
Prestige.
Destiny streaming right
Wow,
now?
dude.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I just
Guess
pull
why?
up the green screen
This is
and then I'm
crazy.
Coffeezilla and then sorry, what did I say? I'm stupid. Don't listen to that. I go to my $10 million studio and then I put it down and I play video games all day.
Wow.
And
This is
you know,
nuts.
argue with people.
Yeah,
hey,
you
we
have a
both
fake
do
set
debates
bedroom,
too.
actually.
We both do debates.
You must be exhausted by the end of the day.
Oh, it's a long road. Like it's a long
Oh,
road. Yeah,
man.
that's really funny.
Dude,
Yeah,
you're
that's
amazing
crazy.
at StarCraft, though.
Right.
I've always
I'm
admired
what?
that about you.
You're amazing.
Oh, yeah,
at, see, he
thanks.
doesn't even know
Thanks.
because his personalities are so disconnected that it's like
I'm split.
What is
I have
StarCraft?
multiple personality disorder. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm partly Destiny. The
No, it's not
streamer.
even multiple. It's not a disorder for you. You're like making it work. You got too successful years ago.
He's got multiple personality disorder. Well, actually, he's making it work.
It's working. It's like a eureka moment in
That's
psychology.
great. Is he Cuban too?
Yeah.
He is actually Cuban. I think he's half Cuban as well. Like, are you from Nebraska as well too?
No.
That would even-
That's where the-
Yes,
that's
you
where the
are. What? That's
similarities-
crazy.
Sorry.
It's funny because sometimes me and Sam have parallels. That's like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, oh, you're the version of me that's from Canada, you know, or something like
yeah, I feel
that.
like y'all
Me
are a
and
lot
me.
alike. Actually, y'all have a lot in
Choo-choo.
common.
So I'm thinking me, you, and Destiny and Slush have a group podcast because we're like basically twins on both sides.
How are we gonna get him to be both people at the same time, though?
You're right. You're gonna have to pre-record the other. You're gonna have to pre-record the other.
Can you just anticipate everything that will be
Yeah.
said?
That's true.
Yeah,
You could do
I
that,
can.
right? You're
Yeah.
pretty analytical
Okay.
guy.
All right,
Of
perfect.
course,
We got it.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Actually,
you got a busy
doesn't
day
he play
ahead of
piano
you.
too?
He actually plays piano too. He actually plays piano too, dude. What the fuck?
Dude, your doppelganger this whole time has been
That's
another famous
crazy,
personality.
dude. That's crazy. Yeah, that's weird, huh? What's up with that?
Maybe this is getting to something. There's
Wow,
only
dude.
so many types of people in the world, and we're just witnessing the overlap right here.
Yeah. How do I, dude?
Are you trying to find out
never-
more about yourself?
Am I trying to find a what?
More information about yourself?
No, I was trying to hook it up so I could play you guys a song to play,
Ooh.
but I can't do it right now.
What's up? You have to do a stream
Sorry.
as Destiny soon, right?
Yeah, I'll do my stream.
You should
on
play
Destiny.
us your outro song.
All right.
Wake up, smell the coffee.
Yeah, please. Please.
I don't have it. I don't have it. I can't
Oh,
play
we'll
right
wait.
now.
We'll wait.
I can't. Oh, okay.
We'll wait for you to switch to Destiny mode. Don't worry.
Destiny. Destiny arrives, guys. Destiny arrives. I
All
can't.
right, we could end the recording. Let's end the recording real time.
Cool, guys. Wait, are you?